Hello, friends. I'm Professor Filip Kovacevic, and this is the 5th edition of the Russian newspaper's Monitor. First, today, I would like to ask you to please donate to our Kickstarter campaign. Without your donations and support, we are not going to be able to bring you the quality programming we are making at Newsbud. As you know, we do not accept money from any corporate sponsors or foundations. Newsbud is 100% financed by you, the viewers. So please help us make our work possible. Now, let's see what the Russian press has been saying this week. Today, we'll start, as we usually do, with the Rossiyskaya Gazeta, the Russian government-owned newspaper. Let's find out what the current thinking is in the Kremlin. Who is going to be praised and who is going to be condemned this week? Let's begin with the front page for the edition of October 31st, 2016. In the lower right corner, there is an article on the new symbols of the Ukrainian Military Intelligence Agency. The title is "Sorry for the Bird," and the subtitle claims the Ukrainian Military Intelligence Agency points to its real mentors. The article begins by saying that some Ukrainians will cherish proudly this symbol, while others will die of shame. It explains that both the President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, as well as the Secretary of the National Security Council, Alexander Turchinov, were present when the Ukrainian Military Intelligence Agency unveiled its new seal. The seal included the central representation of an owl holding a sword right above the territory of Russia. The article comments that such a representation is very much in line with the current Ukrainian military doctrine, which sees its biggest neighbor, Russia, as its biggest enemy. This clearly does not bode well for the future relations between the two countries. In addition, the seal also includes the motto that says, "Ukraine above all," which, according to the article, is the same in form and meaning as the controversial German motto, "Germany above all," with its connection to the Nazis. It is also interesting that on the seal, while Russia is up in front, there is no representation of the United States. The article notes that while most intelligence agencies have the entire globe represented on their seal, underscoring their global reach, it appears that the Ukrainians only care about spying on and running covert operations in Russia. No other part of the globe is represented, as if nothing else can be a possible source of interest and danger. The article speculates that this seeming indifference toward the geographical location of the United States might be explained by the fact that the former Ukrainian military intelligence chief, Valery Kondratyuk, who is now a deputy chief of staff in Poroshenko's administration, was suspected of working for the CIA by some of his colleagues in the Ukrainian intelligence community before the government overthrow in 2014. In other words, Kondratyuk and his cronies intentionally wanted to hide the place where their real mentors reside. Moreover, many observers also noted that the representation of an owl on the seal resembles the owl cartoon character from the Soviet cartoon The Story is Being Told from the 1970s. In the cartoon, the owl is portrayed in a negative light. It is attacking the main hero, and it is in the end decapitated by him. The article sarcastically concludes that this will also be the inevitable fate of the Ukrainian military intelligence agency, especially once their personnel is brought to justice for the crimes they committed against the civilians in the Donbas region. In my opinion, the placement of this article on the front page shows that there is a lot of bad blood between the Russian and Ukrainian intelligence communities. The intent of the article is to ridicule the Ukrainian military intelligence agency by claiming that it is essentially a puppet in the hands of the CIA and the US foreign policy establishment in its aggressive efforts to dominate and break up Russia. For the second article today, I have chosen an article in Izvestia, the moderate pro-government newspaper, the edition for November 1st, 2016. In this edition, on the bottom of the front page, there is an article entitled "The White Paper on Syria," and the subtitle explains, "Russia distributed a document on the war crimes of the international coalition, which is led by the United States, and the so-called moderate opposition in Syria." The article reports that this happened on October 28, and it was done during the session of the Security Council of the United Nations. The documents of this nature are in diplomatic discourse typically called white papers. This particular white paper was put together by the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Russian Ministry of Defense. The Defense Ministry provided the information and the photos from the war operations near Palmyra. This document also included the statistical data on the humanitarian aid delivered to the civilians in Aleppo. It chronicled the successes of the Russian intervention, including the number of liberated towns and villages, the number of killed militants, as well as the number of refugees who actually returned to their homes. The white paper was translated into English and distributed to all members of the Security Council. The article continues on page 3, where there is a color photograph of the ancient columns in Palmyra guarded by a soldier with a machine gun. This soldier is more likely from the Syrian army, though he could also be Russian, as the Russian military assisted the Syrians in retaking Palmyra from the Islamic State. Some Russian experts on the Middle East were also involved in putting the document together. One of them is Vitaly Naumkin, who is a member of the prestigious Russian Academy of Sciences and in charge of the Institute for the Study of the Middle East. Naumkin shared some of the document's findings with the journalists. For instance, according to him, the Russians destroyed about 300 oil wells operated by the Islamic State, and in this way were able to cut its finances by 70%. They also liberated the highway that connects the capital with the north of the country. This is why, in Naumov's view, the claims that one can hear from the United States and its allies that Russia caused the humanitarian catastrophe in Syria are neither valid nor credible. In fact, Russia is constantly delivering humanitarian aid to civilians in Syria. So far, the Russian military and special forces delivered 71 tons of food and 15.5 tons of medicines. Therefore, the attacks on Russia and its involvement in Syria are nothing more than the reflection of aggressive Western Russophobia having to do with the Russian rejection of the US global hegemony, according to Naumov. In my opinion, this article shows that the Russian government understands the dangerous implications of having the West blame it for war crimes, and that it intends to fight those attempts in many different ways, including by using the knowledge base and scientific reputation of its experts and professors. This clearly is the battle for the hearts and minds of the international community. It seems to me that the United States and British foreign policy, media, and intelligence establishments will not be successful in their intended designs. The Russians are ready and prepared to retaliate with similar accusations, and may even be able to get the majority of the world's population to accept their official narrative on the events in Syria. Now, for the next article, let's go to Nezavisimaya Gazeta, the middle-of-the-road newspaper, the edition for November 1st, 2016. On the top of the front page, there is just the title and subtitle of this article. The jihadists might move into Afghanistan, and the events in Iraq and Syria are pushing the militants into new territories. The continuation is on page 7. There is a photo of the Afghan police officers after the operation against the Islamic State in one of the suburbs of Jalalabad in eastern Afghanistan. According to this article, the reports in the Asian press state that the Islamic State is conducting very active recruitment of militants in 25 Afghan provinces. The article notes that the US General John Nicholson, who is in charge of the NATO mission in Afghanistan, said in a recent interview that the Islamic State militants are trying to establish a territory under their control on the territory of both Afghanistan and Pakistan under the name of Khorasan. The article also cites the Afghani parliamentarian Abdul Zahir Kadir, who said that the Islamic State is trying to take over the area around the Tora Bora caves, made famous in the search for Osama bin Laden more than 1 decade ago. In other words, even though thousands of US and NATO troops and tens of thousands of Afghan civilians have been killed and wounded since the US and NATO intervention in 2001, not much has changed on the ground. What a waste of human lives and money. Is anybody in the United States and NATO going to be held responsible for that? Of course not. In fact, those who pushed hard for the intervention, the hegemonic globalists now supporting Hillary Clinton for the US presidency, are as vocal as ever in the US mainstream media. The Russian diplomats also believe that the Islamic State fighters will move to Afghanistan after the defeats in Syria and Iraq. Putin's special representative on Afghanistan, Zamir Kabulov, said that this already happened with a small group of fighters this summer. Of the same opinion is the Russian Central Asia expert, Dr. Nikolai Plotnikov. Plotnikov stated that more than 5,000 militants who are the citizens of the European Union countries already left Syria and Iraq for Europe, where they are likely to be involved in the future terrorist attacks. At the same time, several thousands who are the citizens of the former Soviet Central Asian republics took a different route, going east to Afghanistan, where they plan to regroup and fight back. It is interesting to note that Nezavisimaya Gazeta also contacted Shashank Joshi, who works at the British Royal Institute for Defense Studies and is a PhD candidate at Harvard University, and asked him the same questions. In contrast to the Russian expert Plotnikov, Joshi downplayed the possibility of militants moving to Europe or Afghanistan, and said that most of them, if they get away from Syria or Iraq, would be going to Libya. In my opinion, in this way, Joshi tried to hide the disastrous failure of the Western policies in the Middle East and the real possibility of further terrorist attacks in Western Europe due to this failure. Now, let's look at the Russian opposition newspaper, Pravda, which is the newspaper of the Russian Communist Party, the edition for November 1st and November 2nd, 2016. On the front page, in the lower right corner, there is an article entitled "The Social Protest Abroad" and the photo of the demonstrators in Brussels, protesting against the signing of the free trade agreement between Canada and the European Union. This agreement is called CETA, and it resembles NAFTA, a free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, signed by the President Bill Clinton in the 90s, which led to thousands of the US jobs being lost and many US middle-class families sinking into poverty on one hand, and the enormous profits of the gigantic corporations on the other. The protesters tried to enter the building of the European Commission in order to stop the signing ceremony between the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the EU Commission Chief Jean-Claude Juncker. The protest was organized because it is already clear that this agreement will lead to the economic collapse of the European farmers, to the loss of good manufacturing jobs, and the increase in the gap between the rich and the poor in Europe. No doubt, it will also radicalize already very tense ethnic and religious relations in Western Europe. And perhaps this is one of the key reasons why it is being pushed now. It may be a part of the covert agenda of further political destabilization of Europe, so that it becomes more economically dependent on its Atlantic neighbors, the United States and Canada. Many suspect that signing CETA is only the first step toward the signing of TTIP, the overall free trade agreement between the United States and the EU, which was blocked in September 2016 due to massive workers' protests all across Europe. It is clear that the neoliberal globalists do not plan to give up on the TTIP and are likely using Canada and CETA as a kind of the Trojan horse. The general plan, as I pointed out on a recent Newsbud panel, is to form a political federation between the United States, Canada, and the European Union, with NATO as its military arm and the CIA-NSA network as its intelligence arm. This has been the essence of the Atlanticist ideology since the end of the World War II. In order for this geopolitical design to succeed, all friendly political and economic ties between the European Union and Russia have to be cut. This is exactly what we are witnessing in Europe right now, with the NATO and United States military buildup in Eastern Europe and the Arctic. Let's also take a look today at the front pages of the Russian semi-tabloid press, because the newspapers of this kind have the largest circulation and the largest audience among ordinary Russians. Today, we will examine both Argumenty and Fakty and Komsomolskaya Pravda. First, Argumenty and Fakty. This semi-tabloid weekly newspaper typically includes on the first few pages the questions of the readers to the political leadership of Russia. As I said last time, there is no way I can check whether these are the questions of actual readers or are the products of editorial policy in order to get important information across to the audience. I'd speculate that they are usually the mix of both. So here's the question from a reader about the relations between Russia and the West in the most recent edition of Argumenty and Fakty, the edition for November 2nd, 2016. This is the question. Is there a chance of normal relations with the West, or is the cooling of the relations now beyond repair? The answer to this question extensively quotes from the speech of Vladimir Putin, which he gave recently at the meeting of the Valdai International Discussion Club in Sochi. Putin stated that there is a stream of constant anti-Russian propaganda in the West. He said that every day there are so many allegations in the Western press about the so-called Russian military threat. According to Putin, this is done in order to benefit the Western military-industrial complex, as well as force the European countries to seek the protective umbrella of the US military and intelligence structures. As far as Russia is concerned, Putin said that it was actually funny to think that Russia planned to attack anybody. How can a country of 150 million people want to attack NATO countries of at least 600 million people? That's ridiculous, Putin concluded, and obviously serves the hidden agenda of sustaining the US hegemony in Europe. As far as the possibility of dialogue with the West goes, Putin said that he supported Obama's initiative on the ceasefire in Syria, but it was the US military which violated it by the unexpected attack on the Syrian military. As it turned out, this attack directly benefited the Islamic State fighters. Putin said that Russia is still ready to negotiate the Syrian deal, but only as an equal and respected partner. The article also consulted the Russian Middle East expert and professor Sergei Karaganov, who confirmed that Russia was willing to extend the hand of peace to the West, but Karaganov emphasized only from the position of the victor. No more would Russia accept any kind of patronizing attitude from the US or from any other country. Lastly today, let's look at another Russian semi-tabloid newspaper, Komsomolskaya Pravda, the edition for November 1st, 2016. On the bottom of the front page, there is a short article about a geostrategically very important bridge being built between the Crimean Peninsula and the Russian mainland. There is also a photo of the bridge construction taking place at this time. Needless to say, once this bridge is fully functional, it will even more strongly anchor Crimea within the Russian Federation, both politically and economically. The bridge will cost close to $5 billion to build. It will be total 15 miles long, and it will have 4 lanes. According to the article, the first cars will be able to cross the bridge in 2 years, in December 2018. The train tracks will be laid soon after that. The spokesman of the company doing the work is quoted as saying that they are even ahead of the schedule. No doubt that this news will make happy all the Russian patriots reading this newspaper. And this is why it was put on the front page. Dear friends, that's all for this week. Thank you for your time. Be cool and stay cool until the next edition of the Russian Newspapers Monitor. Thank you.
Last June, a new media platform was introduced, and the people spoke, making Newsbud the #1 most successful journalism campaign in Kickstarter history. Leading the Newsbud team with nearly 2 decades of a proven track record is award-winning activist, publisher, and author Sibel Edmonds.
Hi, I'm Sibel Edmonds, the founder and editor of Newsbud, a 100% people-funded media with integrity. About a year ago, as I set about creating the objectives of this one-of-its-kind media project, the establishment and establishment-oriented people called it a mission impossible. According to them, a media model 100% free of corporate advertisement, a media entity without backing from foundation sugar daddies, a news organization that refrained from subscribing to partisan politics, the red or blue pill, was an impossible dream. Last June, thanks to you, thanks only to you, not only did we make the phase 1 of this media project possible, but with your backing, we also made it the most successful and most funded Kickstarter journalism project of all time. Everything we have accomplished has been made possible by you.
Newsbud is building a one-of-a-kind, multimedia news platform only made possible by you, the people. No corporate advertisers, no money from the foundations, and no government ties. We are the only 100% people-funded multimedia news source out there. Your support is needed. This allows Newsbud to recruit the best and the brightest from around the world to give you the news and analysis you won't find anywhere else. The Newsbud team as a whole speaks 7 different languages. This unique quality allows Newsbud to offer you unmatched geopolitical news and analysis from Sibel Edmonds, Christoph Yerman, and Filip Kovacevic of Russia Newspaper Monitor.
Be a part of the movement for making possible the new democratic, independent media on the internet. Support Newsbud.
We have writers and analysts who served in the military, providing expert exposés on the military-industrial complex, like Christian Sorensen in his monthly Department of Defense reports, and Newsbud analyst Eric Moshe.
Newsbud's work is shaping up to make big dents in the artificial armor of corporate media conglomerates, who run sanitized news programs and rarely show every side of the story when it comes to world events and analyses. However, with this breakthrough platform, we've got the potential to become a treasure trove of meaningful exposés, holding powerful people and organizations accountable and tracking international fervor as it unfolds. If you are looking for a well-organized effort characterized by integrity, valuable insights, and admirable motives, look no further.
Seasoned investigative researcher, writer, editor, and producer of the Geopolitical Report, Kurt Nimmo.
Newsbud is an important alternative to media produced by the corporate propaganda matrix and the national security state. Every week we produce content that you won't find covered by establishment media outlets that claim to offer investigative journalism. Please consider joining us in making Newsbud the #1 most funded Kickstarter journalism project of all time. People need to know what's really going on in the world, and Newsbud is working toward that goal. Thanks for your support.
Newsbud executive producer and editor Spiro Skouras.
We are extremely grateful and humbled from the overwhelming support that we received during our initial campaign. Phase 1 allowed Newsbud to establish our foundation, which is key for any operation. In Phase 2, we intend to build upon that foundation and expand our operation. Having access to the needed resources will ensure that Newsbud will remain a leader and trendsetter in the alternative media and beyond.
Support independent media. Go to Kickstarter.com today.
We have a long way to go, not only to continue, but to expand, become more effective, and grow together. We are only answerable to you, and you are the only ones who can keep Newsbud in existence and allow it to go much further in pursuit of journalism with integrity. Please join us. Join the Newsbud movement by kindly and generously pledging towards this 100% people-funded media with integrity. We have accomplished a lot, but this is only the beginning, and that is my promise to you.